Welcome, the Northman Coaching Podcast with Gary and AJ. Thanks for tuning in. Building a better you, shoulder to shoulder, brick by brick. Let's go.
Men, divorce hits like a storm, leaving wreckage behind. This isn't about fixing the past. It's about forging the future. Start building the foundation for the man you're becoming. Take time to reflect and rise to each challenge. Get the free ebook, The First 30 Days. The first 30 days will help you survive the shock, stabilize your emotions, protect your peace and sanity, reclaim your strength. Northman Coaching and the Northman Brotherhood. Get your free ebook.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you're listening from, welcome back to the Northman Coaching Podcast. And I'm your host, Gary Hults. Today, we're talking about a value that every man admires, every man respects, and every man will eventually need. The value is bravery. Now, when most people hear the word bravery, they think about soldiers charging into battle. They think about firefighters running into burning buildings. They think about heroic moments that make headlines. And while those are certainly examples of bravery, most of us won't face those situations today. But every single one of us will face opportunities to be brave, because bravery isn't reserved for extraordinary moments. Bravery is built in ordinary moments. Bravery is telling the truth when a lie would be easier. Bravery is admitting you were wrong. Bravery is setting a boundary when you're afraid someone might leave. Bravery is asking for help when your pride wants you to stay silent. Bravery is choosing faith when fear feels more logical. Bravery is doing what needs to be done before you feel ready. The truth is, bravery isn't about danger. It's about decision. And every day presents opportunities to make brave decisions. One of the biggest misconceptions about bravery is that brave people aren't afraid. That's nonsense. Every brave person you've ever admired has felt fear. David felt fear. Joshua felt fear. Peter definitely felt fear. Every leader you've ever respected has experienced doubt. The difference wasn't the absence of fear. The difference was what they did next. Fear speaks. Bravery answers. Fear says, what if I fail? Bravery says, what if I succeed? Fear says, you're not ready. But bravery says, maybe not, but I'm moving anyway. Fear says, wait. Bravery says, go. Think about your own life for a moment. How many opportunities has fear stolen from you? The conversation that you never had, the business that you never started, the apology you never gave, the relationship you never pursued, the prayer that you never prayed. Most regret isn't created by failure. Most regret is created by hesitation. Years from now, you'll rarely regret the things you attempted and failed at. You will regret the things that you never attempted at all, because you will always wonder, what if? Bravery answers that question before regret ever gets the chance. Recently, bravery has taken a different meaning from me. Most of you know that my mother has been battling cancer. And if you've never watched someone you love go through something like that, then you know there's nothing glamorous about it. There are no movie scenes, no dramatic victories, no heroic soundtrack playing in the background, just difficult days, uncertainty, grief, questions, and moments when you realize you have absolutely no control over the outcome. One of the biggest lessons that I have learned through this season is that bravery isn't always charging forward. Sometimes bravery is simply staying present when your heart wants to run away. It's answering the phone. It's making the trip. It's sitting in the discomfort, having the difficult conversations, allowing yourself to feel all of the emotions without letting them control you. That's bravery too. And I think many men misunderstood that. We think bravery means never feeling pain. Real bravery means feeling it and continuing anyway. I've also learned that bravery and faith often walk hand in hand. Many of you also know that I've been preparing for baptism. And for a while, I found myself wrestling with fear. Not fear of baptism itself, but the fear if my mother passed shortly afterward, that my mind would somehow connect those two events. I knew logically that her passing would not be a punishment. I knew God wasn't waiting to strike me down for taking a step toward him. But fear doesn't always speak in logic. Fear speaks in emotion. And eventually, I realized something. Bravery wasn't waiting until I had perfect clarity. Bravery was moving forward with faith while uncertainty still existed. Because if we wait until fear disappears before we act, we will never act. Faith often requires movement before certainty. And that's what bravery looks like. One thing I have noticed while coaching men is that fear rarely announces itself. It usually wears a disguise. It shows up as procrastination. It shows up as overthinking. It shows up as perfectionism. It shows up as waiting for the right moment. I'll start next month. I need more information. The timing isn't right. I'm too busy. Most of the time, those aren't really reasons. They're fear wearing a costume. And fear doesn't always stop us by saying no. Sometimes it stops us by saying, later, we'll do it later. I think about my life after my divorce. Looking back, one of the bravest things I've ever done wasn't getting married. It was rebuilding my life after it ended. There were moments when it would have been easier to stay bitter, easier to blame, easier to focus on everything that happened to me. But bravery required something different. Bravery required ownership. Bravery required growth. Bravery required asking myself difficult questions. Who do I want to become now? And what lessons do I need to learn? How do I build a life I'm proud of moving forward? Those weren't easy questions, but they were necessary ones. And many of the men listening today are facing similar crossroads. Maybe your marriage ended. Maybe your career has changed. Maybe life didn't go according to the plan. Bravery isn't pretending it didn't happen. Bravery is refusing to let it define the rest of your story. As I've gotten older, I've also realized bravery changes. When you're younger, bravery often looks like risk-taking. And believe me, it was a lot of risk-taking. But as men mature, bravery often looks like consistency. It's showing up. It's keeping your word. Being dependable. Being present. It's being the father that your children can count on. One of the greatest blessings in my life is my daughter. And the older I get, the more I realize that bravery isn't always doing something dramatic. Sometimes bravery is being the same man on Tuesday that you were on Monday. It's keeping the promises. It's being reliable. It's staying steady. It's choosing character over convenience. And that is the kind of bravery that builds trust. Scripture gives us incredible examples of bravery. Joshua standing before an uncertain future. David facing Goliath. Esther approaching the king. Daniel entering the lion's den. Peter stepping out of the boat. What all of these stories have in common is simple. None of them knew how things would turn out. And none of us know how things will turn out. Yet, they move forward anyway. Joshua 1:9 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Notice that God doesn't promise. He doesn't promise certainty. He doesn't promise comfort. He doesn't promise easy. He promises his presence. And sometimes that's enough. Now, let's talk about relationships for a moment, because bravery matters there too. It is brave to be vulnerable. It is brave to communicate honestly. It is brave to apologize. It is brave to tell someone how you feel. And sometimes it's brave to walk away. I've talked before about dating. Many men believe courage means pursuing harder, texting more, convincing someone to choose them, chasing. But sometimes bravery isn't pursuing harder. Sometimes bravery is it's respecting yourself enough to even walk away. Sometimes bravery means accepting that not every relationship is meant to work out, because they're not all going to work out. Sometimes bravery means allowing space instead of forcing outcomes. And that is not weakness. That is strength. That is pure strength. The same thing happened when I started Northman Coaching. People see the podcast, they see the brotherhood, they see the website, they see the content. What they don't see are the moments of doubt, the moments where I wondered if anyone would listen, if anyone would show up, if any of this would ever make a difference. Starting something new always requires courage, because there are no guarantees, only possibilities. But every meaningful thing in my life has been started with a decision to move forward before I felt ready. And I suspect the same is true for you. I really do. So let me ask you something. Where is fear currently running your life? What conversations are you avoiding? And what decisions have you postponed? What opportunity have you delayed? And what prayer have you been afraid to pray? What step has God been asking you to take? Because bravery isn't found in giant moments. It's found in the next step, that next phone call, that next workout, that next prayer, or even that next conversation. It could even be the next act of obedience. That's where bravery lies. Imagine where your life could be 1 year from now if you consistently choose courage over comfort, not perfection, not giant leaps, just daily acts of bravery. One difficult conversation, one honest prayer, one boundary, one application, or even one act of forgiveness. All it takes is one step forward, day after day after day, and week after week, month after month. Those small acts would completely transform your life, because bravery compounds, just like fear does. As we close the show today, I want you to remember this right now. Every man listening is facing something that requires courage. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's a boundary. Maybe it's a prayer. Maybe it's a decision. Maybe it's finally letting go of who you were so that you can become who you were meant to be. The brave man is not the man without fear. He is the man who acts while fear is still sitting in the passenger seat. Fear can ride with you. It just doesn't get to drive. Stand firm, walk humbly, build the man, lead the legacy, guys. And remember, guys, please, if something I said today really hit you, then like and subscribe. Follow us on all the channels. We are on every single major podcast platform. And for all you guys out there that are looking for a brotherhood, check out northmancoaching.com. We have a brotherhood. It's called the Northman Brotherhood. We meet 4 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are check-in meetings. Thursday is a long, deep meeting. None of these meetings are required, but you can attend every single one of them. Just go to northmancoaching.com and click join the brotherhood. Also, if you guys are going through a divorce and you need to take that step and be brave, get my book that I wrote. It's called The First 30 Days. This book will teach you how to respond versus react. If you can use this book properly, you will save yourself. And if you can save yourself, you can most likely save your marriage. This book is my gift to you. So also, northmancoaching.com, called The First 30 Days. Go ahead and download it. Like I said, my gift to you. And if you want to jumpstart on all of this stuff and you want some one-on-one coaching, also northmancoaching.com. Get your free 60-minute call. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what you can do. And let's see what we can do together. I want to help you guys become the man that you were meant to be. Other than that, check out our podcast every Sunday, like you're doing now, and our daily devotionals every single Monday through Friday in the morning. If you guys are looking for other podcasts to listen to, I just want to recommend my friend Joel Rosario and his wife, Glow Rosario. They have an excellent podcast that comes out every single Sunday and Wednesday. It is called Sessions and Lessons, Life Unscripted. And they are like a 80s, 90s talk show, self-help. They break it down, and they break it down real. They're great. So check them out. 2 episodes a week. They're excellent. And Glow Rosario, his wife, has her own podcast on Fridays, and that is called Glowing Off Script. And that is also on every podcast platform. And it's also self-help, but different from what they do together. You'll have to check them out. They're both, I highly recommend both of them. And if you're looking for a good book, my friend Joel Rosario also wrote May, December End, The Ballad of Joey Flowers. So check out that book, guys. That's on Amazon, Amazon Kindle, Nook, BarnesandNoble.com. And it's also in a bookstore in Kenosha, Wisconsin called Studio Moonfall. So check all that out, guys. And like I said, like, subscribe, do all the things, and be brave, guys. And next week, we're going to have a special guest. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, this is my special guest, Mr. Joel Rosario. So next week, guys, see you then. Have a good one.